So, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Infrared Training Limited. My name's Austin Dunne. I'm the Director, or I guess Training Manager for Infrared Training Limited. And firstly, I'd like to thank everyone for making the effort to attend today. Obviously, the weather's not that good, and we did have a few people that cancelled. But on the whole, I think the majority of people have made the effort, so thank you very much. What we wanted to do with today was to explain a little bit about who we are and what we do. And just to give you a bit of background, when I left school, I joined ICI, petrochemical industry. I probably spent the best part of 30 years involved in that industry, of which the latter part, which was about 6 or 7 years, I was the company's full-time thermographer. I got into that because I was interested in photography, and because both technologies develop images, I thought it's quite an interesting thing to get involved with. Working in the petrochemical industry, obviously did things like electrical inspections using infrared, mechanical. I spent a lot of time on processes, so looking at different parts of the plant, different structures, and whether there was any bottlenecks or problems within the process side that we could use the camera that would help us to identify where the problem was. And if we could do that, that had a big impact on the bottom line because we could increase production, and therefore, the company was more profitable to run. So after spending so many years in that industry, I decided that I really liked infrared thermography. I wanted to get involved more on the educational side. And at the time, most of the training was in North America. So I was fortunate enough to get a work permit. I went to Canada. I spent the best part of about 5 years over in Canada and started to deliver training as a training instructor, mostly in the US and all the major Canadian cities. From there, things spread out because obviously the technology, we all see it on television today, whether it's wildlife programs, medical programs. Infrared is being used in so many diverse ways that a lot more people know about it. The cost of infrared cameras has reduced, so there's a lot more companies and individuals that own the equipment. And of course, if you own the equipment, then, potentially there's so many things that you can do with it. I always liken infrared thermography to photography. I like to take a digital camera and I go out, I like landscapes, so I take photographs of landscapes. I try to reproduce what a professional thermographer, a professional photographer would do. And I can't. And I understand the core reason why I can't. It's because the professional photographer knows his equipment absolutely inside out. He knows his application, or whether he's studying portraits, whether he's doing landscapes. He understands what he needs to get from his technology to reproduce a level of data. And we do exactly the same with an infrared camera. We go out, it's all about identifying particular anomalies or defects, and then being able to interpret that and put it down in a document. To do that, you probably need some help, and that help would include understanding your camera. It would include having a knowledge of infrared physics, and it would also include having quite an in-depth knowledge of a particular application. What I wanted to do today was to show you how we've developed in training. So when I came back from Canada in 2005, I set up the company Infrared Training Limited, UK limited company. We initially had a small office block, but about 18 months ago, we transferred and we moved into this building for a number of reasons, because it's got pretty good parking facilities and free Wi-Fi, but also because I could have a dedicated training room. Since we've been in these premises, that's allowed me to introduce things like putting a smart board in place rather than a whiteboard, to then purchase some iPads because I can get the iPads to talk to the smart board. It also means that I've spent a little bit of time developing some online training tools, so that instead of students coming to me for 4 or 5 days training, they can do some modules which will be online, so they can do the theory. The theory never changes. The nice thing about infrared thermography is it's based on science. It's based on scientific principles. You cannot go wrong because it's absolutely logical if you know the scientific principles. So it's based on heat transfer. It's based on what we call black body radiation, and it's based upon the laws of thermodynamics. Everyone in the room knows what the first law of thermodynamics is. But often people can't remember it. The first law is the conservation of energy. An infrared camera measures level of energy that's emitted from the surface of an object. You need to understand that principle in its basic form before you could actually get good quality data from an infrared camera.